Hello there, Ashley Perret with Own Your Worth. And today I want to talk to you about one of my biggest pet peeves in the hiring game. So whether you're an employer hiring new talent or you're an employee looking for a new job, I want to share with you today my biggest pet peeve in the hiring process. Because I've seen it over and over again in my career, both in the HR side and as an employee, and also with the clients that I work with. So my biggest pet peeve when it comes to hiring new and great talent is that the money conversation happens too early in the interview process. So my biggest pet peeve is when an employer will ask a candidate to talk about salary before they even interview that candidate. Oftentimes it happens on the very first phone call. And here's why. Right? A lot of employers receive hundreds, if not thousands, of applications of great, qualified, and maybe unqualified candidates. And as they're sifting through the stack, right, it's become just part of the process to use money as a way to either qualify or disqualify a candidate. Now, I've seen countless number of employers use this as a way to reduce their candidate pool. And here's where it causes problems. It really does put the employee or the future candidate right on their back foot when they have to talk about money at the very beginning. And you as the employer don't yet know if that candidate is right qualified for the position you're hiring, or maybe a potential internal position that isn't open yet, or that is a different role completely. So when you talk about money too early in the process, you're really, as the employer, potentially losing out on a great candidate, and or as the employee, right, maybe lowballing or underselling yourself because you're asked to respond, right, about money before you're even asked to talk about your value, your contribution, and your experiences. So from an employer perspective, if you're on an HR team or a hiring manager or a recruiter, right, why not talk about creating a new policy internally in your organization where maybe you share the approved range, the budgeted range for a particular role with candidates to see if that's within the candidate's role range. Or, right, why don't you talk about money after you've met the candidate in person? So I know a lot of employers are concerned about the number of hours and time and energy that has to go into hiring great talent, but either underpaying, right, or talking about money too soon in the hiring process really does cost your company money in the long run. Because hiring great talent, paying them fairly and competitively from the beginning is going to serve you as the employer in the long run. Now, employees, if you are on the other end of this interviewing for a new role and you're getting that question, right, dear candidate, please share with us either A, your current salary or your salary expectations. I just want to point out that in many cities and states, Massachusetts included, it's illegal for employers to ask you for your salary history during the interview process. And that law is in place to really stop perpetuating any gender wage gaps that might exist. So if you're underpaid today, employees, it's not important to discuss your current salary when you're looking at a potential new role with a new employer. It's irrelevant, right? Your current salary is irrelevant to what you could potentially be earning when you're in a different role. So here's some language to use if you're on the employee side. If an employer says, right, dear candidate, what are you looking for in terms of salary? And it's the very first conversation you've had with the company. What you can say is, I'd love to talk about salary as we get closer to the offer letter stage. But as of right now, I'd like some time to better understand the role and responsibilities that I'd be hired into. And I would like some time to do some market research. Can we have this conversation at a later date? So you do not have to share, employees, you don't have to share anything about your current salary, and you don't have to share your salary expectations if you don't want to. Now, the caveat to this is if you know you want to make between $100,000 to $120,000, then say it. Say it right from the beginning and ask the employer, dear employer, I'm looking for $100,000 to $120,000. Is that within your budget? And employers and HR, it's time for you as an organization to start creating transparency around your pay bands. First, internally, and next externally with the candidates that you're talking to. Because when we play games with money, it really impacts not only you as a business, but the employees in their future with you. So my recommendation today is, whether you're on the employer side or the employee side, let's start having some frank conversations about when it's appropriate to talk about money. And that's after, right, a role and responsibilities and job description are defined. And whether or not, right, the candidate is a great fit for the new position that you're hiring them into. So candidates, feel free to tell employers what you're looking for after you've done some market research. And employers, feel free to share with employees what your budget is. Right? If you go into this process thinking, you're going to save money up front by offering candidates less pay, that really does cost you in the end, either when the employee quits or talks about your brand in a way that isn't positive, or when you have to, right, rectify any misalignment in pay. So I'm hoping that through not only legislation, but just awareness of both candidates and HR and managers having more transparency around pay, that my pet peeve of talking about money before interviews are even happening will disappear completely. So let me know in the comments if you've run into this issue where you've been asked either to share your salary expectations before you've interviewed, or what challenges you're facing on a employer side when you're trying to hire great talent. Thanks so much, and I will talk to you soon.